Excellent. There you go. It's just gone through as starting recording. So if you can go on to the next slide, please, Lottie. So in terms of what we're going to be covering today, the first section, we're going to give you a bit of an overview of the council's role in local area energy planning and our wider local area energy plan project. Then we're going to talk a bit about the focus of today's project, which is the community-led energy plan project that we're working on, and how that then fits into our wider local area energy plan project. And then we've got some interactive elements that Lottie's going to be leading on. We're going to take you through a bit of an introduction to the Harestock primary substation area, which is the focus of our community-led energy project. And we're also going to present to you the work we've done to date, which is around representing and understanding the current energy system within the Harestock primary substation area. And that's what we call our energy baseline. The last two sections is going to be a bit of an overview of our project timelines and the key activities, and also engagement opportunities. Those are our further workshops that we'll be hosting over the next couple of months that we'd like you to be involved in and take part in. And finally, we'll be finishing with a Q&A session and a final quiz to close the session. So on the next slide, please, Lottie. I'm going to start by providing a bit of the overview of our local area energy planning at the Winchester doing at the council. So first of all, I think it's important to put the Winchester district into its context. So we have a population of 127,500 people across the Winchester district and 51,700 households. A vast majority, a significant proportion of that are actually social housing assets. And the Winchester district covers an area of 250 square miles. At the moment, we're currently under a two-tier county structure. So we at Winchester City Council are a district authority, and we have Hampshire County Council, who are the upper tier authority. Now that's subject to change along with local government reorganisation. We have set an ambitious target to be carbon neutral as a district by 2030, and there's a lot of work that we lead on as part of our carbon neutrality programme to help to get to that target. On the next slide, please, Lottie. We have developed a carbon neutrality action plan, which sets out the key pathways by which we will achieve our targets. Those are centred around 5 key areas of action. The first one being reducing the energy that we use, so reducing energy consumption and making sure that we invest and ensure that our buildings are energy efficient. Reducing the carbon emissions associated with our transport and ensuring that we look at how we travel and transition towards more sustainable alternatives, such as active travel, that's walking and cycling, and also investing and ensuring we've got the proper infrastructure set up to support a shift towards electric vehicles. And also looking at how we generate our renewable energy, ensuring that we generate from local renewable energy sources such as solar PV and onshore wind. The other 2 pathways are ensuring that we remove as much carbon as possible in our local area through nature-based solutions and using local carbon credits as a mechanism to get those local projects off the ground. Now, the reason why I've highlighted the first of those 3 pathways is because these 3 really encapsulate what we mean by our local energy system. That is the energy that we use in our buildings and in our vehicles and across our transport sector, and also how we then generate and distribute that electricity. So one of our key parts of our carbon neutrality action plan is how do we decarbonise our local energy system. And next slide, please, Lottie. Now, within our action plan, we recognise that there's several levers of influence or areas of action that the council can take. And we can, for example, directly deliver projects across our buildings and land. And we're doing a lot of that through things like our solar PV programme, investing in solar assets across our buildings. We also recognise the value we can play in helping to collaborate and foster partnerships and working groups, and also influencing and using our comms to promote and inform and encourage behaviour change. But one of the areas we want to highlight as part of this is our role in enabling and developing the strategies which enable the kind of change that we need. And on the next slide, please, Lottie. One of those key enabling actions we've identified to help to decarbonise a local energy system is developing a local area energy plan. Now, a local area energy plan is defined as a data-driven whole system approach that considers how to decarbonise the entire energy system at least cost. It's a whole system approach because it considers all elements of our local energy system. It doesn't just focus on one area like renewable generation. It focuses on generation, how we use that energy in our buildings, how we distribute that energy. So it encompasses the entirety of our energy system, and it also looks at various different energy vectors like the gas that we use, the electricity that we use, and also the heat that we use in our buildings. The local energy plan itself is led by local government, and it's also developed collaboratively with key stakeholders like energy network operators, that's our electricity network operators and our gas network operators, and also other key local stakeholders. And the plan itself provides an area with a fully costed spatial and visual plan that identifies the changes needed to the local energy system and built environment in order to achieve our carbon neutrality target. And the level of detail within a local energy plan is equivalent to an outline master plan. So it would detail for a range of different technologies, so our generation technologies, things like our electric vehicle charging points, where these are required to be deployed, when and by whom, and at what cost. So ultimately, it provides an evidence-based plan which can be used to channel investment into a local area to support the net zero transition. And we're not alone in doing this. Lots of other local authorities have taken initiative to develop a local energy plan, and it's now 1 in 6 local authorities are working on developing one of these plans for their local areas. So on the next slides, we wanted to highlight that we recognise the value of developing a local energy plan for the Winchester district, and development of a local area energy plan is regarded as a key enabler to decarbonise the local energy system. So it's within our policy framework. Our council plan has an ambition to deliver a local energy plan for the district to enable the energy transition, and also our carbon neutrality action plan sets an ambition to develop a local energy plan as well. But beyond just achieving some of local aims and helping to achieve carbon neutrality across the Winchester district, the local energy plan will also feed into development of other national and regional strategic energy plans, and those are captured here on the diagram. So the work we do at a local level in terms of defining and understanding what we need for the Winchester district in terms of the decarbonisation of our energy system can feed into development of regional plans and then national plans. And it also can help to inform the network investment plans from our network operators. So on the next slide, please, Lottie. So our project to develop a LEAP is developed in partnership with Scottish and Southern Electricity Networks, SSEN, and also Advanced Infrastructure, AITL. And we aim to, as part of this project, develop the UK's first digital local area energy plan. Now, as part of this project, we also got input from lots of other stakeholders, and that includes SGN, who are our gas network operator, and also the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero, and several other technical consultants. But one of the bits we want to talk to you about today is, as part of this wider local energy plan project, we also want to pilot what's called a community-led energy plan. And we're just going to briefly talk to you about what that is in the next couple of slides. So first, just to capture what the differences are between a local energy plan and a community-led energy plan. So as I noted in the earlier slides, a local area energy plan focuses on the entirety of the Winchester district. So it examines the energy system in its entirety, or the entirety of the Winchester City Council boundary, and it models how the energy system could transition to net zero. And there's lots of stakeholders involved in that process, ourselves taking a leading role in compiling that plan, but also electricity and gas network operators and local residents and businesses that consume quite a lot of electricity and gas. What we're looking at as part of this project is a tier below that, a more hyperlocal scale, and that is the community-led energy plan, which engages with a community or a cluster of communities around the current and future energy system, and empowering those communities to set local priorities and actions and develop an action plan for their area. So the key stakeholders of that one is the community where the plan is based. And if you just click on Lottie, we've got in the diagram here just a bit of a flowchart showing how the policy feeds down from a national level to regional to local, where we're developing our Winchester District Local Energy Plan. And this is then a tier below that, where we're understanding and representing the needs of a community to develop a community-led energy plan. So what is community-led energy planning? So community-led energy planning is a process which enables a community to explore its local energy system and identify future energy needs. And that's across power, so the electricity it uses, heat, and also transport. And it's focused on sub-local geographical scales. So as I mentioned before, what that means is below the scale of the entire district. Instead, it focuses on scales like neighbourhoods, communities, or substation areas, which is the area that we're focusing on as part of our pilot project. That is areas that share a common electricity network infrastructure. As part of it, we want to identify short-term development opportunities for decarbonising the local area, but also long-term plans and requirements for that area. And the end output is that it will be providing an evidence-based, community-supported plan to channel investment into the local area. Now, this isn't a completely new idea. Community-led energy planning has been trialled in other areas around the country, such as in Oldham and Greater Manchester, and also in Oxford, but it's not yet widespread. So as part of this project, we want to contribute to that growing body of work and demonstrate that CLEPs, those community-led energy plans, are an effective way to engage communities around the energy transition. So this is a pilot project. It's about exploring the idea. We want to see what works, what lessons we learned, and also try and develop a process that we can implement in other areas across the district as well. So on the next slide, please, Lottie. So the key objectives of our community-led energy plan project is we want to empower communities to respond to the challenge of a net zero energy transition through involvement in the creation, pulling together of the CLEP. We also want to enable communities to build their knowledge and understanding of the local energy system and the solutions required within their neighbourhood as part of the energy transition. We want to understand community priorities for the energy transition and use this to then target activity and investment opportunities. We want to educate communities and build capacity for community-led delivery of projects identified within the CLEP. And we also want to develop a replicable process to deliver CLEPs for all primary substation areas within the Winchester District. That's our long-term goal. So alongside our Winchester District local energy plan, we'd also want to help communities to develop plans that best represent their needs in their areas too. And I'll pass on to Lottie for the next bit, who's going to provide a bit of a summary of the Harestock primary substation area, which is where we're focusing our community-led energy plan.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so I just want to sort of show you what we mean when we talk about the primary substation area. So I'll go to the next slide. So when we're talking about a primary substation area, we're talking about an area that's sort of a major point in the electricity network where the voltage is reduced for distribution to smaller substations and end users. And we sort of think of this primary substation area as the point where the energy system becomes more local. And this pilot project, as we've mentioned, is going to be focused on one primary substation area. And there are actually 26 within the Winchester District. So I'll just go on to the next slide here and show you. So this map outlines where all of the primary substations are. So you can see that there are 26. You can see that they differ in size. Some of them, as you can see, potentially on the right-hand side, there's only part of it included within the Winchester District, and we actually share it with our neighbouring local authorities. This map also uses colour to show the existing headroom on the primary substation areas. So the green ones here are where there's more than 5% existing headroom. Then the orange ones, we've just got the one here, is when there's between 5% and it's over constrained by 5%, and then red is where it's over constrained. So we've got a mixture in the district with the majority having a fair amount of headroom. So we had to choose one of these primary substation areas to use for our CLEP, and we looked at quite a wide variety of factors for this. So one, as I mentioned there, it's whether the whole primary substation was included within the Winchester boundary or not. So obviously we wanted this project to focus on one that was entirely contained. We also wanted to focus on a substation that wasn't too big or too small to make it effective, especially for this pilot project. You can see down in the south of the district, we've got a few smaller primary substation areas, whereas we've got some bigger ones sort of in the centre. We also looked at sort of community readiness. So we looked at areas where there was an existing climate resident action group. So whether that's a part of the WeCan network or the greening campaign. And in that, we also looked at whether they had completed a future energy landscapes. So these are workshops that are put on by Energise South Downs, which sort of look at the community having a look at their energy needs and what sort of they need in the future. So when we sort of examined all those factors, we ended up with a shortlist, and from that we chose the Harestock primary substation. So you can see here with this map on the left, which outlines what we mean when we're talking about the Harestock area. So just above the city centre, it includes a few wards of the city centre, and then the wider sort of, we've got Harestock, South Wonston and Itchen Abbas area. Now we chose Harestock because it has 3 climate action groups. So that's South Wonston Sustainability, Littleton and Harestock PACE, as well as Itchen Valley Parish Council. And then one of the communities has also completed a future energy landscapes workshop and took that further and completed a community energy conversations report. So we thought this was a great way to sort of kick off this project with people that are already engaged. We also looked at sort of what was being allocated in the local plan, and we found that within Harestock, the local plan, which is currently going through examination, has allocated 2 quite big developments within this boundary, which is the John Moore Barracks, which is contained entirely within Harestock, and Barton Farm, which it's just over the boundary, so it's sort of like half within this primary substation, half within another. This primary substation also offers quite a nice mix between city centre as well as more rural communities. So we thought that would make quite a nice mix. So I'll just go on to the next slide. So this next section of the presentation will just give you a bit of a tour of the Harestock primary substation area. So this will include just picking out some sort of key bits of energy infrastructure, as well as some examples of renewables that are already being used in the area. So first of all, this is just a bigger map of the one we've just seen, so you can see what's included within the substation area. So as I mentioned, you can see it's just above the city centre of Winchester, and it includes parts of the Athor. And then if I go on to this is just adding on some of the other key settlements within this area. So as I mentioned, we've got South Wonston, but we've also got Crawley, Sparsholt, and Abbotsworthy and Kingsworthy, all included within the boundary area. So potentially most important was we wanted to give an idea of where the substation actually is. So the Harestock primary substation area is located just on the Stockbridge Road. It's like I say, it's the area where the energy or the electricity is converted, so the voltage can be used within the community and within homes. These areas, so each primary substation area has a primary substation, and this is the one that we will be focusing on. The next key sort of energy infrastructure I wanted to pick out is the new InstaVolt site, which is electric vehicle charging and solar farm. And all of the energy they use at this site is made from renewables, so from their own solar panels, which they've got on site. They've got about 44 charging EV charging spaces, and so this is just a great way for us to visualize sort of, you know, what renewables are already in the area and what's being used. We also wanted to pick out the Itchen Abbas and Avington Village Hall because it's got solar pumps and a heat pump which they use. We know that there are a few other village halls within this boundary that also are thinking about solar panels, so that's great news. But this is something that we really want to sort of, you know, emulate across the substation area and the district as a whole, sort of relying on, you know, renewable energy for these buildings. And finally, just wanted to pick out here the local plan allocations. So you can see here we've got Sir John Moore Barracks on the left, which I mentioned earlier. So in the current local plan, as I say, going for examination, so this isn't all completely confirmed yet, but that's got 750 to 1,000 houses allocated in this site, and that's the same as Barton Farm, but Barton Farm, like I say, sort of halves it within our boundary and halves outside, so, you know, be about 500 houses. And then we've got 3 smaller areas, one up here in South Wonston, the land at West Hill Road North, the Cornerways in Merrydale, and the land adjoining the Cart and Horses Public House. So it's a really interesting thing for us to examine, looking at what the energy needs of the future may be, especially with all these developments taking place. So I hope that just gives you a bit of a flavour of, you know, what we're sort of working with at the moment. So now I just want to move on to talking about the Harestock energy baseline. So as Alex mentioned at the beginning, an energy baseline is the current energy system and what it's looking like at the moment. So we thought it would be interesting to start out with a how well do you know the local energy system quiz. So this is on Slido. So I'm just going to stop sharing this now and share the Slido question. So bear with me. Let me just get it all up. There we go. So I'm just sharing my screen now. Hopefully everyone can see that. Should have the first question. Let me just go back. Oh, bear with me. I think it's being. Let me make sure we're on the right question. There we go. Now that's probably easier to share. Apologies, there it is. Oh gosh, it's still... There we go. So this is the right question here. So you can join Slido, just go to slido.com and put in the code here. Apologies, it's still not showing the right question. Right, let me just get this up. I had it all ready, but best laid plans, hey.
Get back to the code.
Yes, of
Please.
course. Yeah, I'm just making sure I've got the right
got it on my
question
iPhone.
It's not saying.
That
Here we
says
go.
enter
Right,
code.
now I can go back up for everyone. There, so hopefully everyone can see that now. That code's just on the left-hand side. So hopefully once you put in the code, there we go, you should be able to. Perfect. So someone's got in, which is great. So once you're in, if you just answer that question, and then I'll keep track of who's answered, and hopefully we'll it'll work out. So these are the questions that are coming up. We've just got 5. These are just sort of questions that, you know, we would ask when we're creating a baseline. Got a mixture of answers so far. Just give it.
The code didn't work for me, Lottie, but it seems to be working anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry about that. A few more people coming in. Right, so like I say, I've got a mixture for this one. So the approximate population. So you can see the majority here have gone for the 13,000. So interestingly, the correct answer is actually the one that no one voted for, which was the 9,015. So maybe a bit smaller than people were originally thinking. Oh, we've got one right answer there. So that's great. Right, if I move on to the next question. So the next question is, what percentage of homes within the primary substation area are heated with mains gas? Do we think? Oh, we've already got a mixture again. Oh, all 3 this time. So this time the majority were correct. It is 89% heated with mains gas, and we'll show you after this. I've got a map to show you sort of where that is all based and where are the pockets of oil and electricity. So I'll just move on to the next question again. So the next question is, what percentage of all of the electricity usage in the primary substation area is actually used by non-domestic sources? So this is mostly businesses. Right, so once again here, let's have a look. The majority were correct. It is 18% used by non-domestic source. The 18% of electricity usage in the primary substation area is used by non-domestic sources. So the other 82 is used obviously by domestic sources. So next question. How many electric vehicle chargers, both public and private combined, do you believe are currently installed within the primary substation area? So I can see the majority have gone 141 there. The actual answer is 327, with the majority being those that have been installed in private homes. And then the final question on this one is similar to the last one, but this time with heat pumps. How many heat pumps do you believe are currently installed? So I see the majority there have gone for 98. So the correct answer is actually, I'm just going to check myself, is 222.
Yeah.
So a few more than what people anticipated. So that's a good thing, but still obviously quite a long way to go to get those all in. So I'm going to stop sharing that now. So hopefully that's just given you a flavour there of what is already in there in the district. And now, as I said, I'm going to show you some of the key maps which will illustrate this. So I'll just find the correct slide. Where were we here? Right. So first map here is showing, so I should say these maps are all from us using the Lensa tool, which we're using for our local area energy plan, as well as this plan. So here you can see domestic fuel types. So you can see on the key there, it's showing the main, as we saw in the statistic, that it's mains gas. And you can see that the mains gas is situated over the main sort of settlement areas, so of sort of Littleton, Harestock, Itchen Abbas, Springvale, Headbourne Worthy, South Wonston and Crawley. But you can also see there's a fair amount that use oil. So you can see over here sort of in Sparsholt oil, as well as sort of pockets just around the primary substation area. We can also see small pockets of electric being used. So again, down in South Wonston, there seems to be almost like a circle of electricity. And there's also a few examples. There's like a tiny pocket in Springvale. So you can see there just this, it's interesting to see the spread of domestic fuel type and see where we are. And obviously, as predicted, mains gas is the most common usage. And then I'll share the next slide. So the next one is looking at domestic EPC ratings. So these are energy performance certificate ratings. So we can see the spread here, and you, as this bar chart shows very clearly, having an EPC rating of D is the most common within a Harestock primary substation area, closely followed by the Cs. So this isn't sort of unanticipated. This follows on from the trends we saw in the wider local area energy plan baseline, but also means, you know, there's lots of opportunities for maybe some work to go on to raise these EPC ratings to an A or a B. I believe there's only about 50 homes within the Harestock area which are rated A, so sort of a long way to go, but equally sort of a good opportunity for changes to be made. And then the next slide is more about non-domestic building uses this time. So as we saw in the statistics, we said that 18% of all electricity uses is used by non-domestic buildings, and this here just sort of shows the spread of what different buildings there are. So the most common we've got are office spaces and retail, but as you can see, there's also a real mix of agricultural, animal centre, education, hotels. So it's quite a varied area in terms of non-domestic building uses. Next, I thought it'd be interesting to just see the spread of domestic electricity consumption. So this map, just so you know, is the darker the blue, the higher the electricity consumption. And just an interesting thing to note here is that the way that this domestic electricity consumption is shown is by LSOA, so the lower layer super output area, and this doesn't fit in neatly with a primary substation area boundary. So this is it's obviously been cut to fit the primary substation area, but there's lots of different areas within it. So it's not completely accurate on a scale for the primary substation area, but it's a great way for us to see where a lot of electricity is being used. And we can really see it in these more, more rural, what we class as rural areas. And it sort of maps to where the main gas areas are that we saw on the previous map as well. And then the next one is quite an interesting one. This is showing the current low carbon technology installations. So this is across a range of different technologies. And you can see a list there down in the right hand corner. And here it's the darker the pink and purple, the more concentrated the low carbon technology installations are. So from that table in the right hand corner, you can see that the most common one, no surprise I don't think to anyone, is the solar PV, which was there's approximately 856 installed across this area. So these are all approximations. They're taken from the MSC dataset as well as some information from SSEN, but we believe fairly accurate. Interestingly, there's also, according to the records, 2 wind turbines within this area, 2 privately used wind turbines. And there's also, like we've mentioned, sort of 222 heat pumps and 327 chargers. So it's an area that's definitely taking advantage of some of the low carbon technologies you can use. And it's also something you can see there. I see a hand's just gone up. I don't know if someone wants to come in. Is it Tim? Do you want to come in?
Yeah, thanks, Lottie. Just quickly, just to say that right next door to the primary substation area itself is a battery, which I believe is something like 10 megawatts. It's 10 or 12 megawatts. So in terms of the capacity, it knocks the 300 and the 75 others into a cocked hat. It's by contrast, it's enormous. And there are 1 or 2 other assets that, as you've been listing them, I can add some colour to those. But I guess that's really what these workshops are about, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. Like, the local knowledge is just so important for things like this. So that's really great to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then if I just move on to the next slide. So I'm just going to show you some of the things that the Lenser tool can do. And to do that, I'm just going to have to share my screen again with something different. But what I'm going to show you now is the Lenser tool uses a range of data to actually look at the potential for solar PV and heat pumps in the area. So I just thought it'd be interesting for you all to see how it's doing that and what it's showing. So if you just bear with me again, I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute and then reshare again. So hopefully everyone now can see the Lenser tool. So I'm just going to put on the domestic rooftop PV potential, and then I'm going to zoom in. And if I zoom in over hair stock here, you can see that all of the buildings that have been highlighted in yellow are ones that the data believes would be suitable for solar PV installation, and all the ones that are greyed out are ones that have been decided that they potentially aren't suitable. Now, this is obviously not taken by someone going around and assessing all the individual rooftops. It's taken from a range of data, and I'll just let you know. So the suitability of the rooftop takes into account the orientation of the roof, area of the roof, and maximum array size possible. So these aren't to be taken as sort of certain, but it just gives us an idea of the potential. And you can just see, just in this small area, how many could actually have solar PV installed. So that's just a really nice way to see, what the potential is and what could potentially be achieved. And then just quickly, I also wanted to show the domestic air source heat pump potential. So again, similar again, but you can see it in green. So if we focus here in Littleton, we can see that the data is showing that so many of these houses would be actually suitable for a domestic air source heat pump. And we know from our wider LEAP work that in the Winchester district as a whole, that air source heat pumps are going to be able to be more widely used than domestic ground source, but that doesn't mean there are areas where domestic ground source can also be used. But this is just an interesting thing to show you, and hopefully something we'll touch on, in future workshops, really looking at what the potential is in the area, what is achievable and what residents think would work and what wouldn't work. So again, I'm just going to stop sharing this one and go back to the PowerPoint. Sorry, there's lots of toing and froing with this, but here we are. I'm just going to reshare. So now just going to move on to a little bit about the project timelines and the different engagement opportunities that there are for this project. So current progress is that we began in June of this year. So that included, really thinking about primary substation area selection, also having a look, as Alex mentioned, at other areas that have done similar work to this and trying to think about what they've done and figure out how it can be emulated within our area. As I mentioned, Advanced Infrastructure have now completed our baseline mapping for Hairstock, and they've produced what they call a baseline data story. And this is essentially something that you can access that takes you through some of those maps that I've shared and gives you some more information. Now, we're going to be uploading this onto our webpage, so if you are interested, you can view it. We're also hoping that we can use your email addresses. I'm going to ask you at the end of this if you're happy. We've got them. Obviously, we want to make sure everyone's happy for you. Oh, sorry, can someone not hear me? No, everyone hear me? Hopefully that was just...
I think, Lottie, it might be just worth saying that if people have got their microphones switched on, it's giving some feedback. So I just wondered if everyone could just make sure, unless they're making a contribution, they could just switch the microphones off.
That'd be lovely. Yeah, thank you.
Well.
So as I was saying, the baseline data story, so we're going to be putting that on our webpage, and if you're happy for us to use your email, we can also email that out to you. We've also done some community mapping of the Hairstock primary substation area. So we wanted to understand who the key contacts would be for community engagement. Obviously that how we've hopefully reached all of you. And obviously we're hoping to reach more people for the future workshops. So just to give you sort of a rundown of the future workshops. So as Alex said, we've sort of split it into workshop 1, 2 and 3. So workshop 1 is obviously taking place today, and this is just obviously this session to introduce and hopefully answer any initial questions that you have. Now workshop 2 is going to be a little different. This will be an in-person session, and we're actually planning to run this workshop in 3 separate areas. So we're currently trying to think about where they should be, but we think we're going to map them to where the climate resident groups are. So that would be one taking place in an area within Littleton and Hairstock, one within South Wonston, and one within Itchen Abbas. And these 3 sessions will all be identical in that we are planning to have the local community hopefully come along and discuss 3 main topics, which are energy efficiency, renewable energy and transport. And these will really be sessions which will be guided by a local community to talk about those 3 areas and what's sort of currently happening in the district, what the challenges facing any one of these areas. So for example, transport, it's really interesting to understand, how are you traveling around around your local area, what barriers are you finding to traveling in a more sustainable way? So things like that. So that we'll obviously send more information about that out once we've confirmed the dates and the locations. And we really hope these will be really great times for discussion. And then we have workshop 3. Now, this will also be an in-person session, but we are planning to potentially just have one of these rather than the 3 we're going to have for the subject focus, because we feel this is a place where all the points from workshop 2 can be drawn together. And we hope that this will give us a chance to develop action in those 3 main areas that I just mentioned. And we also hope that this will be a chance to give communities more information about ways they can take ownership of their energy needs. So this may be a community energy group, and I know there's been some work on this already in the area, but also what resources are available for people who'd like to move forward with this. So again, the date is to be confirmed, but what we're anticipating is that workshop 2 will take place August and early September, and workshop 3 will take place late September. And then finally, we just thought it'd be interesting to think about the outputs of a community-led energy plan. So obviously the main output will be the plan itself, and this will incorporate the findings from the community workshops, looking at future options which are realistic for decarbonising the area, as well as what the priorities of the residents are. This is what we're really keen to understand. You know, what are residents thinking? What are their priorities, and how can we support them in making that a reality? As we've discussed here today, this is a pilot project. We've not run something like this before, so we're aware that there'll be lots of lessons learned from this. So we will also be producing a lessons learned document to outline what went well and what could be improved. So to help with this, we're going to be asking for, a lot of feedback from you all. So please do let us know what you think, what you think could be done better, what could be more effective, and anything like that. And in that vein, we do just have another opportunity to use Slido for just to ask you sort of how you found this webinar. I know some people are struggling to use it, so what I'll do is I'll put up the questions. Then if you can answer on Slido, that would be great. But if not, please, if you do have anything to share, please just shout it out. So just bear with me and I'll just share that quiz. And there will be an opportunity, I should say, after this to ask any questions that you may have. So it's not just this. So let me just have a look at this now.
While you're doing that, Lottie, presumably it's a different Slido quiz number, is it, than the one we had at the start?
Yes, it is. It is. I should have said that. Thank you. Yes. So let me get up the new code for everyone. So hopefully that's come up for everyone. So you can see the code, if you are able to use it, it's down there in the left-hand corner. See someone's typing, so hopefully that means that's worked this time. That's great that someone said it's useful. I'm sure Alex as well is very glad of that. I see the presentation again. Yes, so what we're going to be doing is uploading this recording onto the website, and we can also upload the slides if we thought that would be useful. Having a look at the Yes, the Future Energy Landscape workshops, I'm just looking at this comment, are much more thorough. So yeah, we're hoping that the next workshop give a real chance to, dive into that as well. Got there. The all ground source heat pump potential, geothermal possibilities, heat networks. No, not mentioned in this one, but definitely something we can pick up in future sessions. I'm really interested to know that people are interested in that. We have been doing a little bit of heat network work for the wider LEAP, so we can certainly share that with everyone at the interesting. Oh, great. Thank you, Philip. Happy to use your email address. Perfect. So new build homes, I can see there. So we're looking at the local plan allocations, which will obviously involve new build homes. But when we're talking about, as I say, those three main topics, the energy efficiency, new build homes will definitely come into this, and we can always give a bit of an overview on the new standards that we're trying to get through at the council. So I can't see anyone else typing, so I'm going to move on to the next question. So this was just, would everyone be willing to attend the future workshops? Hopefully this has sort of captured your interest and it would be something you'd be willing to do. So I'm glad to see a few yeses there already. Thank you.
Very cruel if someone said no, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yes. But as I say, we're all about feedback. So if someone said no, be interested to know why.
I have to actually leave the call now, but thank you very much. And I'm really keen to be involved in the future ones. This is Philip.
Great. Thank you so much, Philip.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks, Philip.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right, so I can see we've got 100% yes, so that's very good. So next question. We're just wondering if any of the information we've shared has surprised you at all. Anything that you didn't know, or something that something you just didn't realise was taking place? That'd be interesting for us to know. We've certainly been we've been interested and surprised by some of the information that we've seen in the baseline, both this one and the wider local area energy plan. Talking about the missing technologies. Yeah, thank you for that one. Like I say, hopefully we'll be able to pick that up in future workshops there. See someone else is typing, so I'll just wait for that one to come through. So yeah, so the DNO, so our DNO for all of Winchester is SSEN, and as I think Alex mentioned at the beginning of the call, they are our partners within this project alongside Advanced Infrastructure. So they've been really open with a lot of the information, and a lot of their information has been fed into the tool which we're using to create all these maps. They're also a key partner in this project. So if there is anything, that comes up that we think would be really useful for us to have at the workshops, we've got really great lines of communication with them. So hopefully we can get that. And yeah, encouraging to see more EV chargers and air source heat pumps than estimated. It's really encouraging and shows, that we are moving in the right direction, which is great news. Next question. Obviously, we really want to get as many local residents involved in this process as possible. And we appreciate it has fallen over a bit of summer holiday time. So that might be a bit of a challenge. But we just wondered if anyone had any information here, maybe groups we could talk to, ways we could get people involved, how we can get people to want to be involved. So any sort of anything you can give us would be really useful. We're hoping to get some sort of local posters up and about the next couple of workshops and keep them, not too long and relevant for lots of people. But if you do have any guidance, that would be great. I see someone's typing.
Lottie,
Yes.
Lottie, can I ask you a question? So I'm obviously not from in this area.
Yeah.
This is Daniel. But there will be others who are not within the area who may be interested to come and observe and learn. So are you scoping that in as a possibility?
That could definitely be a possibility. Like I say, this is something we really want people to be involved in, and it's something that we hope we'll be able to emulate across all of the primary substation areas. So yes, we'd definitely be inviting anyone who's interested to come in and observe. And obviously, although we're looking at the Harestock primary substation area, a lot of residents may have a shared experience that maybe we can learn from lots of different people.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I noticed that on the call, there's at least two Super Homes previous champions, Stu and Bob Whitmarsh, and we know that you're taking the horse to water and some of this technology that people really want, but the uptake rate, as we know, sort of plateaus for all sorts of barrier reasons. So I'm just wondering, what is the approach or the I don't know, the nudge that will be used rather than just capturing data and sort of wishful thinking? Is there going to be other aspects to how you engage the groups?
Yeah, so I think what we're really hoping to do is when we bring in different residents is from these discussions, maybe understand what the barriers are, that maybe that we've got resources that we can help, help with those barriers to overcome. Obviously, a major one probably will be, funding all of this, which is not something we can specifically help with, but we're hoping it's going to help us learn how we can support residents and also point them towards potentially resources that are already there. We've got the really great My Home Made Better scheme now, and we're hoping, talking about energy efficiency within this scope might be able us to sort of advertise that. As I mentioned, we're also hoping to bring in a bit about community energy groups, and I know in this area there's already been some talk about it, so bring in some guidance for those and how they can be set up and the benefits of those. So we're hoping that way we might nudge. We also want to understand, what do residents want? What are their priorities in terms of, would everyone prefer solar PV before a heat pump and things like that? And we're hoping to, share this and see what people have, and hopefully also show what's already happening in the area and nudge people that way. Something like if 10% of people already have solar panels, great mines of information, those people who have already got them.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about the Octopus Energy, it's vehicle to home, vehicle to grid. There are all these new, thoughts that might be something that residents don't have in their mindset. So it's a question of how you present that and who will present it with knowledge and understanding.
Yes, definitely. Really keen to sort of portray it in a really clear and way where people can get the information they need. So definitely some ideas for us to bring in maybe some experts in this who can communicate that well, which would be really great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I've just saw a couple come through here. What do we need to know from residents? Let me just got options for technology, location. So what we really would like to know from residents is in those first workshops, we want to understand, what is it currently looking like? In terms, say we talk about energy efficiency, what do people know about energy efficiency? What may be holding them back from installing energy efficiency measures? All these sort of local things that are quite individual, so we can really start to build a picture of the area. And then, as I mentioned, in action planning, which is workshop 3, we're hoping all of those insights we get from workshop 2 about what residents want, what the challenges are, we'll be able to then translate into some actions, what people think is actually achievable, what they would want to put their time and money behind. I just seen residents will need good notice of the meeting dates. Yes, definitely, as well as the purpose. So have Oxford and Oldham engaged? So thanks for that question. That's really interesting. So Oldham also ran a series of workshops. They ran quite a few more than we are planning to, because their project was a little bit bigger, and they produced 2 sort of community-led action plans. And in each of those, they had, I think, 15 participants, but for each of those workshops, I had the same 15 participants. We're not being as prescriptive of that. We're saying anyone can come to any of the workshops. You don't have to have been to one to come to the other. And they looked at a wide variety of areas. They went on sort of walking tours of the area. And then with Oxford, they've also done a primary substation area, but their project is more over 2 years. So they've already produced their action plan, and they've got a team at the Low Carbon Hub who's going out and engaging with them that way. So hopefully that's interesting for you as well. And I just see one more person typing, so I'll just wait for that one to come through. Oh, some interesting. Yep, don't miss out. V2H and V2G. Lovely. Well, that's great. Tim, I see your hand's just gone up.
Yeah,
Do you want to come in?
Can I just ask, because Bob Whitmarsh, who's on the call, and I, we're members of the Parish Action on the Climate Emergency, which is part of the Littleton and Harestock sort of activity. And although it's connected with the parish council, it's not something the parish council directly necessarily funds, in the same way that I understand South Wonston sustainability is separate from the parish council and so on. And poor Bob and I, but more Bob, you know, has been out to people's houses, you know, advised on insulation and things, all free of charge, and we keep promoting it in the area. And the level of interest and take up, even though we keep promoting it through all the usual channels, including leaflet drops and so on, is comparatively small. I mean, like very small. And so what I was, my question really was about having a combination of hope and actions, and let's keep doing the right thing and try different techniques and so on. But within the primary substation area, there must be some big wins as well. And I'm thinking that, you know, if what I know about, I mean, the biggest electricity consumer in the whole area, and I'm not talking about the PSA area, is IBM with its massive data center, which will be chewing up lots of power, and they're doing something about it. If their new direct wire 4.5 megawatt solar farm has now been approved, which I understand it has, they could be producing up to about 20% of their total electricity. Now, within the PSA area, we've got Arqiva at Crawley Court, which I'm assuming on the map is part of it. Well, I'm guessing they must have a big data center there. And I'm guessing that SSEN will know exactly how much electricity they're using. And I'm just wondering, given that I know that you and Alex and your team have got some good connections through economic development with businesses in the area and trying to encourage them to, you know, whether there are some big wins as well. Because clearly, whilst, you know, if we could convert even 10% of all those houses you've shown over to solar PV and air source heat pumps and things, we'd be doing really well. But one or two big wins would make some really big differences. And and it just seemed to me that with the kite mark of interest, as it were, of Winchester City Council on that, which, you know, is obviously a bigger entity than South Wonston Parish Council and Littleton and Hairstock Parish Council, whether it would give some real oomph to that whole column now. What about corporate climate social responsibility? How about doing something about putting some solar panels on the ground on land around Crawley Court and so on, and having a direct wire connection in the same way that IBM have obviously commissioned with a 4.5 megawatt literally direct wire solar PV that doesn't have to connect to the grid. It goes straight from wherever the solar farm is straight into IBM. Have we got some of those? And do you know where they are? And could they be part of that? They're not necessarily conversations for residents, but in a sense they might be if suddenly the residents of Crawley are faced with a planning application from Arqiva and the landowner locally who've come to an agreement to put in a 5 megawatt solar farm in the district. So that there is a conversation that's necessary there, isn't there?
Yes, definitely. Oh, Bob, have you got your hand up? I can just see.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, I'm struggling with Teams and Slido. I'm unfamiliar with both of them, but yeah, I could endorse thoroughly what Tim just said. But I'll add a couple of things. One is cooling hasn't been mentioned, and of course, a lot of people must have been really hot in the last month with 3 heat waves, and possibly another one on the horizon. That's something we could stress, and it might get, well, we're trying Littleton and Hairstock to get people interested in keeping cool in the summer. It's also important. It relates to insulation, of course. And the other thing is a big plus point about heat pumps is it reduces carbon footprint. You haven't mentioned that. And that might be a big factor for some people, and that may be possibly why 222 or whatever houses have got heat pumps now, because it doesn't necessarily save money. Speaking from personal experience, it's not a lot more expensive, but at the moment, unless the government change their mind, it is more expensive than gas. That's it.
Yep, no, all great points. That's great, thank you. And yeah, I agree. I really like the thought of these big wins, and I think it would be nice for, you know, residents to see these big companies taking, you know, taking responsibility for some of theirs. So I think that's definitely something Alex and I will go away and take a look at. We've recently connected with the energy manager of IBM, so it'd be interesting to talk to them about it. But equally, we can see if we can contact IKEVA as well. And Bob, I really like your calling. Definitely something to keep in mind, keep it relevant to people and encourage them. So that's definitely something we can use as well. So that's all really useful. Thank you. And then I think I just had one more question, which was we've discussed a little bit, I guess, but sort of, is there anything you'd like to learn more about in future sessions? Like I say, obviously we've got some good contacts with SSEN, so anything that they may be able to contribute. Obviously we've also got the Lensa tool, which we can use. So I just wondered if there's been any sort of thing you've looked at and thought, oh, I'd like to know more about that. Obviously we've got a few points already. So if anyone had anything, please pop it up. But if there isn't anything, then obviously that's fine as well. Just leave it there for a second. Can't see anyone.
Well, whilst people are typing, Lottie,
Yeah.
I just wonder about battery energy storage systems, and I'm thinking big ones. I mean, whilst obviously domestic ones are brilliant, and you know, let more of those take place. The maps that you showed didn't show one of the biggest assets in the area, which is a large battery, and I'm just thinking if that data was supplied to was it AI Intelligence or whatever the firm that are doing it, but by the DNO, they forgot to add that bit, which is quite a big omission if indeed they forgot it. And I'm just wondering if there are other ones, because there are some others in the area, and of course one of the really important things about presumably that the DNO are going to be very concerned about is that if everybody stuck solar PV on their roof, on a hot day, if nobody's at home, there could be an awful lot of electricity going back into the substation if it can handle it. And the opportunity to attenuate it with battery storage might be something that we ought to really be considering as well. There's a lot of it varies. A lot of people are very concerned about batteries, so we hear. Although when you look at the national installation of large battery, there seems to be a lot more of it outside the Winchester area than we have. And so I just wondered if that could also be a big part of it, because one of the questions perhaps is, would you be happy to have a battery in your area? And oh, by the way, in case you didn't know, on the Stockbridge Road, we've already got a 10 megawatt one, which I guess, because it's installed in what looks like a cattle building, nobody would actually know it was there unless they knew.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, really useful for us to know that one hasn't been featured on the map as well, because that's something we can feed back to Advanced Infrastructure if that is the case. And also, yeah, it'd be really useful to learn about people's opinions on batteries and trying to gauge, like you say, from SSEN about whether, you know, the Primary Association could even handle, like you say, all of those solar panels without the battery. So yeah, definitely something for us to explore.
Well, I mean, there is also the 25 megawatt solar farm up at 3 Maids Hill as well, which falls within our area. And just for clarity, the InstaVolt, you know, car battery storage, car battery recharging, their few solar panels they have on the site make a very small contribution to their total the total battery charging. They've got 44 recharging points there, high volume recharging points. They'll be using far more electricity than is being generated by the handful of solar panels they have around their cafe area, which is good that they've got them, but it is merely, dare I say, a token of what they're actually using. So they're going to be a big user of electricity. The other thing I was going to say is that if we are successful in weaning people off gas, which one would hope we can be, and onto air source heat pumps, then the use of electricity is going to go up, not down. And I just think that when we're setting our targets for, because they were the first big 3 ones, weren't they, to reduce energy use in the area, which of course insulation will help do and so on. We just need to be cognizant of, if we're switching people away from gas and onto air source heat pumps, then I would have thought demand for electricity is going to go up, particularly if they give up fueling their car with petrol and recharge it at home with electricity. Anyway, just a few thoughts.
Yeah, no,
Sorry,
really helpful.
Tim, on the subject of gas, Tim, the anaerobic digester by 3 Maids, I mean, how big is that? And is that biomethane just being shipped away out of area, or was it being used in area?
Yeah, it's I forget the exact output, but it's an 83,000 ton facility, and they're going to be carting about 3 compressed tanker loads per day down to Portsdown Hill, which is the only injection point on the Southern Gas network that they're able to do that. So there isn't facility to inject it within the network of gas in the immediate area, but there will be indirectly, because it will go into the Southern Gas network that the people who live in our area will be using.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Thanks.
Great, thanks everyone. And I can see here there's just a few comments come through about community scales proposals. So that's great. Thanks for sending those in. Great to know that everyone's interested in those. And I agree with your comments there that those benefits of large energy generation projects are really big. So hopefully be something we can discuss in the workshops. Like I say, I know this has already been touched on by those that did the Future Energy Landscapes workshop, but I believe took place in South Wonston. But it'll be definitely something we're hoping to address and see if there's opportunity and appetite for something like that. I see one which is just asking about the objectives of this project. So I'll just leave that one for a second because I've got a PowerPoint slide with those on. So what I'll do, I've got one person typing and then I'll switch back to that screen so you can see the objectives there rather than have me just read them out to you. So I'll just wait for this, this final one.
And Alex and Lottie, can I just ask the question? The next local plan will start kicking off in earnest very soon. And in terms of informing the evidence base, as we then need to meet across the district, the higher housing targets and so on, is there a cunning plan to have this pilot with the lessons identified featuring in that local plan? And how do we scale it more widely? Is there some thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely with the wider district Winchester local energy plan as well. We've had some early discussions with our strategic planning team about the connections between them. And you're right, they're starting now on the next phase of the plan. And we're at an opportune moment to coordinate these plans over the next year to feature them as part of the evidence base. They're really keen to know about the utility needs in the future and how those can be factored into the next local plan period. So yeah, this will serve as evidence base that we can factor into the next local plan period. That's not something that's factored a plan of this scale anyway into the current local plan that's been considered.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Great. I've just seen the final comment come through about how any land assets owned by us might be harnessed to generate renewable energy. So that's a really interesting one. We've just got on our Lenser tool where we can map the land assets of the council. I don't off the top of my head know if we've got any within the primary substation area, but definitely something that we can look at, and that's a really interesting thought. So thanks for putting that in. So I'm just going to... Oh, sorry, Alex.
Say a data source that we could probably share as part of some of these workshops that are coming up as well. We're really keen to share about technologies, things in our ownership as well. So we'll look through the data, we'll prepare some briefings and the plans for those workshops, and that might be something we incorporate.
Lovely. So I'm just going to stop sharing this now, and I'm just going to go back to the PowerPoint just briefly to share those objectives just for the person who asked for that. Like I say, we can put these on the, we'll put these slides on the website as well, so you can refer back to them if you do have any more questions. So I'll just put those up for that. And I know, oh, that's not the right slide. Let me go back up. There we go. Hopefully, there we go. So those are the objectives there. So We've got all of those, and I know we've been having a general discussion, but if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to shout them out now. Me and Alex will be happy to answer them. And like I say, if you wouldn't like us to use your email address, that's absolutely fine, but can you just let us know in the chat, and then we can just take that off for you. And if not, we'll send out some information to those email addresses, and obviously let you know about all those future workshop dates. So I don't know if anyone had anything else to add.
My question, Lottie, very quickly
Yes.
is, assuming lessons identified, lessons learned, and this all goes well, will there be a project report? When would that likely to be produced? And when will you then look at rolling that out to other areas across the district? And what does that look like?
Yes, so the local area energy plan, which will include the community-led energy plan, is due to be completed in December of this year. So we'll get everything wrapped up by then. And then what we'll do, so sort of once we've got that, we'll start looking at the lessons learnt document. So we've not discussed timelines yet, but I imagine that will be produced sort of December, January, February time, which will lead in quite nicely. And then what we'll be doing is examining that and looking at obviously the benefits of this project. You know, we're hoping to get some really interesting findings from it that will build into not only our understanding of the area, but also SSEN's. And then I guess once we've had all that, we'll then re-examine whether this is something we can roll out to all the districts. And we're hoping, obviously, that this is going to show that it's a really useful exercise and that it can be replicated. Alex, don't know if you had anything else to add on that at all?
Yeah, no, I think you described it really well, Lottie. It's a pilot project, and what we're trying to do here is build and test a model for engagement with communities and helping communities to build community-level energy plans. So as part of this, we'll consolidate all of that into a project report, as you mentioned, Danny, that will be capturing the benefits and lessons learned from our wider programme of local energy plan and also the community-led energy planning pilot. And based on that, we'll see, is this a model that we can test and roll out further, or is there further work that needs to be done to test it, or does the model actually not work? Does it not be fit for purpose? All those things will be considered as part of the report. Timescales wise for that, Lottie has mentioned, we'll be aiming to wrap up the project in December. So we'll be doing a project report and any decisions for adoption on the back of that in sort of the final quarter of this year. So that'll be leading up to end of winter, start of spring next year.
Sure. Thank you, Alex. That's great. Thank you.
No worries.
Great, I'm just going to stop sharing now just to widen my screen. I can't see any other hands up at all. Don't know if anyone's got any further questions, but if not, then happy to sort of wrap this up there. Hope everyone found that interesting. I've written lots of notes. It's been really interesting for us, lots for me and Alex to go away and consider and build into those future workshops. So really thank you. It's already been super helpful. So that's great news. And yeah, we'll obviously communicate with you with any further information and hopefully see some of you at the workshops.
Yep. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Keep well.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Bye.